What happens when one of the world's biggest pop stars walks onto a daytime talk show expecting a calm interview, only to be pushed into a moment he never saw coming? Before we dive into this explosive confrontation, make sure you subscribe to Talk Flair and hit like and comment below, because what you're about to hear is one of the most shocking moments ever captured on daytime TV. It began like any other episode of The View. The studio audience buzzed under the bright lights, the hosts arranged neatly behind the table, and the energy felt good. Calm. Controlled. Too controlled. It was the kind of atmosphere that makes you wonder what's waiting beneath the surface. Justin Bieber walked onto the stage with a half-smile, casual denim jacket, hands slightly trembling. Not from nerves, but from exhaustion. Weeks of touring, press, social media storms, he was tired and everyone could see it. Still, he waved politely, the crowd erupting into cheers. For a moment, everything looked smooth. Typical. Predictable. Then Sara Haines leaned forward. "Justin," she began, her tone sharp in a way that didn't match her cheerful smile. "You've been making headlines again. People are saying you're becoming unpredictable, even unprofessional at times." The audience reacted instantly, a few gasps, some nervous murmurs, a scattering of awkward laughter. Justin blinked slowly. He wasn't expecting that so early. "Well," he said, adjusting in his seat, "I think people misunderstand a lot of things online. Half of what's said isn't even." "But the videos," Sara pressed, cutting him off. "The ones where you walk away from fans. Or snap at security. Those are real, aren't they?" This time, the entire room stiffened. Even the other hosts exchanged glances, wondering whether Sara was pushing too soon, too hard. Justin inhaled, steady but visibly strained. "I'm human," he said quietly. "I get overwhelmed. I get tired. Doesn't everyone?" Sara didn't blink. "Sure. But you're also Justin Bieber. There's a responsibility there. Doesn't the public deserve better?" And just like that, something inside him shifted. It was subtle at first, a tightening of the jaw, the foot tapping beneath the table, fingers curling on his knee. The camera zoomed in slowly, catching every flicker of emotion crossing his face. "Deserve better?" Justin repeated, voice low. "You think I don't try? You think after 20 years of cameras in my face, I don't get a right to just breathe?" The studio audience went silent. Sonny Hostin raised a cautious hand. "Sara, maybe we should." But Sara was already leaning in again, unwavering. "I'm just asking what the viewers want to know," she said, eyes locked on Justin. "Are you losing control of your career again?" A spark lit in his eyes. Not anger, not yet, but the beginning of something sharp and dangerous. "You're out of line," he said softly. The words hit the air like glass shattering in slow motion. The audience gasped. Even Whoopi shifted in her seat, eyebrows rising in a rare expression somewhere between surprise and warning. Sara blinked, startled for the first time. "Excuse me?" Justin leaned forward now, matching her intensity, voice still controlled but trembling at the edges. "You heard me. You don't get to sit here and pretend you understand my life. You don't know what happens off camera. You don't know what I deal with." His voice cracked slightly on that last word, not from weakness, but from pressure, tension, years of swallowed frustration. Sara tried to recover. "Justin, this is a public show. These are public conversations. I'm simply asking." "No," Justin cut in. "You're poking. You're pushing. And you're twisting things you don't understand." The studio audience murmured again, some shifting uncomfortably, some leaning forward eagerly like witnesses to a slow-burning fuse. Joy Behar exhaled loudly. Okay, we're getting heated here." But Justin wasn't finished. "You sit up here every day talking about people you've never met," he continued, eyes locked on Sara. "Celebrities, politicians, whoever. You break down their lives like it's some kind of game. But this," he pointed to himself, tapping his chest, "this isn't a storyline for you. This is my real life. My real mental health. My real pressure." Sara's face tightened, defensive now. "Justin, you agreed to be here. You agreed to talk about these things." "I agreed to talk," Justin said. "Not to be attacked." Another wave of gasps swept through the audience. Whoopi leaned toward him, calm but firm. "No one's attacking you, Justin. We're just trying to understand your perspective." "And I'm giving you one," he replied. Then he turned slowly back to Sara. "But she isn't trying to understand anything. She's trying to get a reaction." A beat of silence fell between them, thick, tense, electrically charged. Sara swallowed hard. Her voice softened just a little. "I'm doing my job." Justin leaned in, eyes hard. "Then do it better." The audience exploded, half with cheers, half with stunned disbelief. Producers off camera waved their hands frantically, unsure whether to cut to commercial or let the moment unfold. Sarah's cheeks flushed. She looked genuinely stunned now, but also irritated, fighting to regain control of the conversation. "I think you're being unfair," she said tightly. "If the public sees behavior that concerns them, asking about it isn't crossing a line. But assuming things is," Justin countered. "Labeling me is. Dragging up old mistakes like I'm not allowed to grow, that is out of line." His voice echoed through the studio. Something had snapped inside him. Years of scrutiny, headlines, judgment, and Sara Haines had unknowingly pressed the final pressure point. Behind the cameras, a producer mouthed, "Keep rolling." This was TV gold, but it was also real emotion, raw and dangerous. Sara finally exhaled and leaned back, crossing her arms. "If you want the public to see your growth, you should show it." Justin stared at her, disbelief flooding his face. "I show it every day," he said, softer now but more heartbroken than angry. "You just choose what you want to see." The room fell completely silent. The tension was no longer just between them. It was between Justin and the entire world watching. And this was only the beginning. The silence that filled the studio after Justin's last words wasn't normal television silence. It was thick, suffocating, the kind that makes even the cameras seem hesitant to move. Justin sat there, chest rising and falling faster than before, his fingers nervously rubbing the silver ring on his hand. Sara stared back at him, unsure whether to push further or withdraw, her professional confidence flickering like a candle in the wind. Finally, Whoopi cleared her throat softly. "Let's take a breath," she suggested, her voice low, grounded. "Everyone here is human. Everyone here has their limits." But her attempt to simmer the moment didn't land. Not immediately, not with the audience still buzzing with the crackling leftover electricity of the confrontation. Justin pushed a hand through his hair, shaking his head as if trying to physically release tension. "I didn't come here for this," he murmured, not to anyone specifically, but loud enough that the microphones caught it. Sara adjusted her papers, even though she wasn't reading anything. It was a nervous gesture, an attempt to reclaim control. "Justin, nobody's trying to villainize you," she said carefully. "You've had a long history in the public eye, and people just want to understand the person behind the headlines." He let out a short, disbelieving laugh. "Do they? Or do they just want a story?" Joy leaned forward, eyes widening. "Look, kid." Justin cut her a sharp glance. "I'm not a kid." Joy blinked. The audience sucked in a collective breath. "Okay," she corrected gently, sensing the fragility of the moment. "Justin, we're saying this because we've seen you grow up." "We?" "Exactly," Justin snapped. "I grew up in front of you. In front of the world. Every mistake I made was televised, mocked, replayed. And then when I try to change, when I try to become better, you all act like it's impossible. Like I'm stuck being 16 forever." Sara straightened, something igniting in her expression. "But people have seen your growth," she argued. "You've talked about your marriage, your faith, your healing. But when videos go viral of you snapping at fans or walking away from crowds, because they don't respect boundaries," Justin interrupted. "You think I don't want to show love? You think I don't appreciate them? I wouldn't be here without them. But I'm not a product. I'm not a toy. I can't be on every minute of every day." Sarah's voice softened unexpectedly. "No one expects you to be." "Yes, they do," he shot back. "And when I'm not, I'm attacked. Headlines, comments, memes. And now," he motioned around the table, "daytime TV segments about what's wrong with me." Sunny, who had been quiet until now, leaned forward with the calmness of a mediator. "Justin, can I ask something? Not as a journalist. Just as a woman, as a mother." Justin looked at her, cautious but listening. "When you say you're overwhelmed," Sunny continued, "what does that look like for you? What does it feel like?" His shoulders lowered slightly, like the question hit something honest. "It feels like drowning," he admitted, voice nearly a whisper. "Like everyone wants a piece of me. Like every mistake is waiting to explode into another headline. Like I can't just walk outside and breathe without someone recording it." The audience fell into a deep, empathetic hush. "And it feels," Justin added slowly, "like no matter how much I grow, people only remember the worst parts of me." Sara pressed her lips together, guilt flickering across her face. But she didn't retreat. Not fully. "Justin, we do talk about the good things too. But you didn't start with that, did you?" he replied, his gaze piercing. "You went straight to the negative. Straight to the drama. Why?" Sara hesitated, caught. The producers behind the cameras were frantically signaling. One wanted to cut to commercial. Another insisted they keep rolling. The tension had become lightning, unpredictable, dangerous, but irresistible to viewers. Suddenly, Whoopi leaned in, voice low. "Justin, can I be real with you?" He nodded slowly. "You're right," Whoopi said frankly. "Sometimes we do go for the headline. Sometimes the first question isn't the kindest one. And sometimes," she added with a pointed look toward Sara, "the approach is harsher than it needs to be." Sara bristled at the implication but stayed silent. Whoopi continued. "But let me tell you something from someone who's been in this business longer than you've been alive. You don't let anyone else define you. Not tabloids. Not social media. Not even this table." Justin stared at her, absorbing the words. For a moment, the room softened. But then Sara broke the fragile peace. "Justin," she said again, "if you want people to stop talking about your mistakes, you have to show them consistency." The moment shattered. Justin straightened, eyes narrowing. "Consistency? You think I'm not consistent? You think I wake up every day wanting to be judged? Wanting to be attacked? That's not what I'm saying. It's exactly what you're implying." "No, I'm not." "Yes, you are." The raised voice echoed like a crack of thunder. The audience flinched. Joy literally recoiled. Even the camera jerked slightly. Sara's face went pale. "Justin, you're yelling." "I'm not yelling," he said tightly. "I'm setting a boundary." She exhaled shakily. "Then say it without attacking me." His jaw clenched, and he shook his head with a wounded laugh. "This is unbelievable. You push and prod, then when I defend myself, I'm the one who's wrong." "No one said you're wrong," Sara insisted. "But that's how you treat me," Justin said. "Like I'm a problem. Like I'm unstable. Like I'm dangerous." The word hung in the air like smoke. Sunny's eyes widened. "No one thinks you're dangerous." Justin pointed at Sara. "She does." Sara froze. "I never said that." "You didn't have to," Justin whispered. He leaned back suddenly, running his hands over his face. The cameras captured every tremble in his fingers, every ragged breath. "I'm tired," he said softly. "I'm so tired of being misunderstood." A deep, heartbreaking sincerity rippled through the room. Sara hesitated. Her voice cracked when she said, "Justin, I didn't mean to hurt you." He didn't answer. Whoopi sighed dramatically, breaking the tension again. "Okay, we need a break." But the producer's voice boomed through her earpiece. "Keep rolling." And so the confrontation, the unraveling, continued. Justin looked up, eyes glassy but intense. "I came here to talk about my music, my projects, my life now, not to defend who I used to be." Sara swallowed. "Then talk about it. Tell us. Who are you now?" Justin stared at her, long, hard, vulnerable. And something inside him cracked open. For a long moment, Justin didn't speak. He just stared at Sara, his chest rising and falling in slow, careful breaths. The studio lights reflected off the tension in his eyes. The kind of tension that builds not in a moment, but over years. Years of scrutiny. Years of headlines that painted him as either a saint or a villain with no room in between. The audience leaned in collectively, realizing they were witnessing something raw, unfiltered, and painfully real. Finally, Justin's voice emerged, quiet but steady. "Who am I now?" he echoed, almost to himself. "I'm someone who's trying. Someone who wakes up every day wanting to do better, even if the world doesn't always want to see it." Sara's lips parted slightly, as if she hadn't expected such vulnerability. Sunny watched him with softened eyes. Whoopi tilted her head, sensing the emotional weight beginning to shift. Justin continued. "When I was younger, I didn't understand anything. Fame, pressure, expectations, it all happened too fast. And when things went wrong, no one asked how I felt. They just pointed and labeled me. Out of control. Spoiled. Arrogant." He paused, voice tightening. "And the worst part is, after a while, I started to believe it myself." A ripple of empathy passed through the crowd. Sara shifted in her seat, looking down at her hands. For the first time, she seemed unsure, maybe even regretting the way she had approached him earlier. Justin took another breath. "But I've grown. I've learned. I've healed. And every day, I'm working to be a better man. A better husband. A better artist. A better human." The audience clapped softly, almost respectfully. But then his tone sharpened again as he added, "And yet, the moment a clip gets posted of me looking frustrated or tired, people jump right back to assuming the worst. Like everything I've done to improve doesn't matter." Sara looked up slowly. "Justin, I wasn't trying to make you feel like nothing you've done matters. He looked at her with a tired, painful honesty. But that's exactly how it feels. A hush spread across the room. Sunny leaned forward gently. Justin, can I ask, what was going on in those viral moments? The ones people judged you for? He nodded. Sure. One of those videos? I had just gotten off a 13-hour flight. I hadn't slept. I hadn't eaten. Fans rushed me before I could even breathe. One grabbed my hoodie so hard it almost choked me. And when I pulled away, just trying to protect myself, someone filmed it from a bad angle, and suddenly I was snapping at fans. He looked down at his hands, twisting his ring again. Another one? I had just gotten news about a family situation. Something heavy. And people shoved cameras in my face outside my hotel. I told them I needed space, calmly, but the edited version made it look like I was yelling. He looked up at the hosts, eyes shining with a frustrated vulnerability. None of that gets shown. Only the worst version of me does. Sara swallowed hard. Her voice was softer now, almost apologetic. I didn't know the full context. No one does, Justin said. Because they don't ask. A weighted silence settled over the table. Then Joy, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, finally spoke up. Why didn't you tell your side sooner? Why not explain it right away? Justin sighed. Because explaining anything online just feels like feeding the fire. No matter what I say, people twist it. They want conflict. They want scandal. They want the story that makes the best headline. He gestured vaguely toward the cameras. Just like today. The comment stung, and Sarah's shoulders tensed. Justin, she said carefully, I wasn't trying to create a scandal. I was trying to open a conversation. He exhaled through his nose, conflicted. Maybe. But your first question was a setup. You know it. I know it. Everyone here knows it. The audience murmured in agreement, a low ripple of tension. Sara looked genuinely wounded now. I wasn't trying to attack you. I swear. Justin's expression softened for a moment, but he didn't fully let go. I'm not saying you wanted to hurt me. I'm saying you didn't think about how your words might land. Sunny nodded slowly. Words do matter, especially when someone's been through what Justin has. Sara looked at Justin, eyes more human than host now. Okay, then tell me this. What do you want people to understand about you? What's the truth you wish they knew? Justin leaned back, thinking. The truth, he said quietly. I'm not perfect. I never claimed to be. But I'm trying. And every time I try to protect my peace, people twist it into something ugly. He leaned forward again, voice gaining strength. I'm trying to build a life that isn't controlled by public opinion. A life where I'm allowed to have bad days. A life where my mistakes don't define me forever. The audience applauded, louder this time. Justin continued. I want people to stop treating celebrities like they're not human. We have emotions. We have limits. And we deserve boundaries. Sara looked down, blinking hard. She seemed to be processing everything, the shift from confrontation to confession. Then Justin looked at her again, eyes calm but firm. And I want you to understand something. When you open an interview with negativity, you're not asking questions. You're making assumptions. And that's not fair to anyone. Sara's throat bobbed as she swallowed. You're right. That wasn't fair. Justin looked surprised, a tiny flicker of shock crossing his face. Sara continued, voice low but sincere. I should have led with compassion, not criticism. The room inhaled collectively, sensing a shift, a softening in the storm. Justin nodded slowly. Thank you. But the tension wasn't gone, not entirely. It hovered in the air, fragile, waiting to fracture again. And fracture it did. Because just as the room began to settle, just as the audience exhaled in relief, Sara asked one more question. A question that sent the entire interview spiraling into the moment that would make headlines for weeks. Justin, she said cautiously, then why, if you're working so hard to grow, did you tell me earlier that I was out of line? The question hung like a blade. Justin froze. And the storm returned. Sara's question sliced through the air like a cold blade. The audience stiffened. Even the hosts looked caught off guard, as if they thought the storm had passed, only to discover a second wave rising behind it. Justin slowly turned his head toward Sara. His jaw tightened. His breath hitched just slightly, the kind of reaction that signaled not anger, but disappointment. Deep disappointment. Why did I say you were out of line? He repeated, voice calm but laced with a subtle tremor. Because you were. Sara blinked, startled by the simple firmness of his response. Justin continued, leaning forward now, elbows resting on his knees. You weren't asking me about growth. You weren't asking me about my healing. You opened this interview with the worst version of me, the version the internet made up. And you didn't even question whether it was the truth. The words landed with weight. Heavy. Unavoidable. Sara inhaled slowly. But Justin. He cut her off, but not with anger, with conviction. You came at me with a headline. You didn't come at me with humanity. The audience murmured, agreeing with a low ripple of hums that filled the studio. Sara's eyes flickered down. A small crack showed in her composure. I didn't mean to disrespect you. I know, Justin said gently. But intention doesn't erase impact. Whoopi nodded in agreement, folding her hands. That part. Sunny exhaled, leaning back. Joy eyed Sara with a raised brow, silently telling her to pull back. But it was too late now. The emotional thread had already been pulled, unraveling everything in its path. Justin continued, his voice softening but becoming more powerful with each word. Sara, I'm not angry because you asked questions. I'm upset because you didn't consider the person you were asking. You saw Justin Bieber, celebrity. Not Justin Bieber, the human being who's been carrying pressure for 2 decades. Sara opened her mouth, but Justin's next words stopped her. You were out of line because you didn't give me the same grace you'd want for yourself. Her breath caught. She looked wounded, but also reflective, like she was hearing him, truly hearing him, for the first time. A palpable silence wrapped around the table. Finally, Sara spoke, voice quieter, softer. You're right. I didn't think about how my approach would feel from your side. I should have. Justin nodded once, slow and deliberate. Thank you. A shift occurred in the atmosphere. Something subtle but real. The tension didn't disappear. It transformed. It became something heavier but necessary, like the air after a storm when everything is damp and raw, but also new. Sara continued. I owe you an apology. And I mean that sincerely. Justin looked at her for a long moment. Then his expression gentled. Apology accepted. The audience exhaled together, a quiet, collective sigh of relief. But the moment wasn't over yet. Sunny leaned in, studying Justin carefully. You know, a lot of people watching this, especially younger viewers, are going to relate to what you said. Justin tilted his head slightly. About what? About being misunderstood, Sunny replied. About trying to grow, but feeling like people only remember their mistakes. About boundaries. About not being judged for one bad moment on a bad day. Justin blinked, absorbing that. And, Sunny added softly, a lot of people are also going to see themselves in how you reacted. Standing up for yourself when you feel cornered. Even if your voice shakes. Justin smiled for the first time in the entire interview. A small, tired but real smile. Yeah, maybe. Sara watched him with softened eyes. Justin, I think people will understand you better now. I know I do. A beat. A breath. Then, suddenly, one voice from the audience shouted, We love you, Justin. The studio erupted with applause, cheers, and warm laughter. Even Justin's face lit up in surprise, a hint of emotion glittering in his eyes. He turned toward the crowd. I love you too. And I'm trying really. I'm trying hard. The applause grew louder, the kind that vibrates the walls, fills the space, and feels like a release after a long, suffocating hold. Sara wiped her eye discreetly, pretending it was just a smudge of makeup. Joy pretended she didn't see it. Whoopi smirked knowingly. But the cameras saw everything. Then, as the cheers finally softened, Whoopi tapped her cue card. All right, Justin, in the spirit of moving forward, tell us what you're working on. What do you want the world to know? Let's give you the space to share your truth. Justin breathed out, relieved to transition into something lighter. He sat up straighter, eyes brightening. Well, he said, I've been working on some new music. Stuff that's really personal. About growth, healing, where I am in life. The hosts nodded, smiling. And I want to build something bigger than myself, Justin continued. Whether it's music or mental health awareness, or just being a better person. I want the world to know I'm not done becoming who I'm meant to be. The audience applauded again, not as intensely as before, but warmly. Supportively. Like a community rather than spectators. And, Justin added with a smirk, I promise I'm not losing control. Sara let out a breathy laugh, shaking her head. The tension between them finally dissolved. But the most powerful moment came when Justin turned back toward her and said, Thank you for listening. And Sara replied quietly, Thank you for telling the truth. A moment of mutual respect passed, fragile but honest. Then the cameras zoomed out, capturing the image that would burn itself into social media for days. Justin Bieber, emotional but steady. Sara Haines, reflective but composed. The hosts relieved. The audience, buzzing with the aftershock of something real. When the show cut to commercial, the room erupted with whispered reactions. A mix of admiration, disbelief, and the thrilling buzz of having witnessed a TV moment that would not be forgotten. And the fallout was instantaneous. Within minutes, clips hit Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Justin Bieber snaps on The View, trended worldwide. Fans defended him passionately. Critics debated the ethics of celebrity pressure. Others praised his vulnerability and honesty. Talk shows, podcasts, reaction channels, everyone had a take. Everyone had a theory. Everyone had a side. But one thing was certain. Justin Bieber had changed the conversation. He left the studio quietly, escorted through a back hallway to avoid the frenzy. His shoulders were still tense, but his eyes looked clearer, as if something that had been sitting on his chest for years had finally lifted. As he stepped into the black SUV waiting outside, one producer whispered to another. That was TV history. And they were right. This wasn't just a confrontation. It wasn't just drama. It was a moment, raw, honest, explosive, that would echo for a long, long time. Just like you, watching now, feeling the tension, the emotion, the truth behind every word. So now it's your turn. What did you think? Was Justin justified? Did Sara push too far? Tell us your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one. And make sure you hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for Talk Flair, because more shocking, intense, cinematic celebrity moments are coming your way. You don't want to miss the next one.